that in case something happens during the briefing, that we generally we have two interpreters. Vicki is here every morning, and Jay is here every morning. And so today, Vicki is virtual, and Jay's in person, obviously. But for a moment there, Vicki went off screen, and Jay had a bit of a panic attack. And so, if that happens again, and we see Jay freaking out, well, we're going to know why. But hopefully, Vicki will stay on the screen this morning. And thanks, as always, to both of you for helping with the interpretation. And good morning to everybody else. As of this morning, we'll run through the numbers. Total cases stand at 10,259. Those are positive cases in Hamilton County. The increase from last week is 493. The number of hospitalizations in Hamilton County sits at 1,017. The increase from last week is 31. And the number of deaths in Hamilton County are 269. The increase from last week is 11. So Greg's going to talk about, Greg Custerman is here, the Commissioner of Health for Hamilton County. He's going to talk through the numbers and trends and what we're going to see. And for those of you that tune in every week, what you know is that we're plateauing here. Again, fairly elevated numbers, but we are plateauing. We are not going up, and we are not going dramatically down, especially in that last category related to the death count. And it's a lagging indicator, but it is a stark reminder that in a week's time, we lost 11 people in Hamilton County to COVID-19. So I was kind of struck by that number this morning. And I'm struck every time we do this, honestly, that we are continuing to lose people in Hamilton County to COVID-19. So it's just something to note, I think. But we'll hear more from Greg in a couple of minutes related to all the information he provides, and he'll have graphics to help illuminate these trends that we're talking about. But first, we have an update for small businesses on the CARES Act. We have some key headlines and lessons learned from the first round of the small business piece. But before we do that, I'm going to give just a very brief overview of these CARES Act dollars. And these can be tracked on the county website. We have a dashboard that talks about the $142 million that we received from the federal government in the CARES Act and how those dollars have been expended to help the community. And so I'm going to run through this very quickly and then encourage you, if you want more detail, to go to hamiltoncountyohio.gov for more detail. So, Hamilton County Commissioners are making strategic investments to stabilize and help the community. So the brief overview is that we had $142 million from the CARES Act, and so the programs that we have initiated include rent and utility relief for renters, housing the homeless to allow shelters to socially distance people, child care provider relief for providers who remained operational under emergency licenses during the pandemic, nonprofit relief for our safety net providers, local government relief, and $18 million in COVID testing in collaboration with the Health Collaborative, which is due to roll out, I think, next week. So more to come on that. So today we're going to highlight the small business program. Get back to my initial sheet. So as you know, this is the second round of the Small Business Assistance Program. The grants will total over $5 million in the second round, which is more than triple what was used in the first round. Small businesses can request up to $10,000, which is similar to last time. We learned from our first round and put into practice improving the second round to help more businesses, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first round statistics are that we funded nearly 220 businesses with over 1.7 million in nearly every city, township, and village in Hamilton County. 43% of the businesses funded were owned by minorities. 49% of businesses funded were owned by women. And 32% of the business funded were both minority and women owned. Of the companies that applied and were disqualified, about 2/3 couldn't prove the 35% loss, that's a year-over-year loss, between the months of March and April, and they were having a difficult time proving the loss for a variety of reasons. And Bridget illuminated some of these this morning to me. Things like they didn't have the appropriate paperwork, they were too new to have proved that kind of loss. There was something that happened during that time frame for their business last year that threw off the number. So there are a number of reasons for the challenge there. And the remaining 1/3 received federal assistance, primarily through the PPP program. There were also some businesses that could not show the loss because of insufficient documentation, which I mentioned, and a couple of them had over $1 million in gross revenue. So not captured here are all the businesses that voluntarily dropped out or did not apply because they knew they wouldn't qualify. This round is designed to make it easier on small businesses to apply. So here's what we learned. We need to require less paperwork. We need to have less restrictive eligibility requirements to include more businesses. So some of these changes then are businesses that have or will receive $20,000 or less in federal assistance through the PPP program or economic injury disaster loan can still apply and receive up to $10,000. Businesses now can have total annual gross revenue up to $2 million, up from $1 million last time. Businesses don't have to prove that 35% loss anymore. They do have to, however, provide a loss, and so this is how we're going to measure that. They can simply fall into the category of being required to close by the state in the initial stages of the shutdown, or show a 15% decline because of COVID-19 in April and May of this year compared to the same time frame last year. So that 35 has gone down to 15, and we've increased the requirement so that if you were shut down, you will qualify. The top reasons that businesses were being disqualified in the first round, again, is that troubling 35% loss or PPP assistance. So the message out is we've learned some lessons since the first round. So much of what we learned was informed by business owners who we contacted and said, hey, we see that you either dropped out, you didn't complete the application because you realized you weren't going to qualify, or you couldn't meet some requirement. Talk to us about that. What was the challenge? How can we be more helpful? So the idea right now is, if you're a small business and you're in need of assistance and you haven't gotten Hamilton County assistance in the past, apply, and the requirements are online today, hamiltoncountyohio.gov. Applications will be accepted starting next Monday, August 24th at noon. The requirements, though, are on the website right now. The deadline then is September 4th at noon before the Labor Day holiday weekend. Please don't wait until the last minute. Read the criteria, gather up the paperwork, and know what you need to be ready to apply next Monday. Last time, we had a lottery system for the applications. If we need to do a lottery because we have more applications than we have dollars available, we will again split the applications. Lottery A will be for employees 0 to 10, and Lottery B will be for small businesses that have 11 to 50 employees. All right, so that's we're all super excited. We've been super excited about practicing the learnings that we've had into the second round, so it's very exciting. So this morning we have 2 Hamilton County small business owners who were deemed ineligible in the first round. We're illuminating what we've just been talking about. They have helped inform our approach in the second round. We also have Eric Kearney, who is the president and CEO of the African American Chamber, who has been really helpful as we have worked through this program, both in the initial stages and now in the second stages, to help inform how we need to push this program out and how we can make it better. So the business owners are Joe Brinkman. He's the owner of the Queen City Running Club with locations in Anderson and White Oak. Our second guest is Carrie Murphy, who is a hairstylist in Newtown. And of course, we also have Eric Kearney on Zoom. So they're all joining us by Zoom. And so, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you. I love your background, by the way, with all the shoes in the back. So please talk us through your experience with Hamilton County and what advice you had as we move into the second round.
Okay. I mean, first off, my experience with it, it was a very easy process to go through. I heard about it through my sister who works with Children's Home Center over on Red Bank Road. She informed me of it. We made the application and look pretty clean. The essence of what we do, we're a running and walking club, and we have a very, very large membership. And unfortunately for us, you know, with a lot of races locally, be it the Flying Pig Marathon and the Queen Bee and all those, a lot of those kind of races all kind of got kicked to the curb during the COVID piece. And so the main thrust of our activity is organizing, coaching, and motivating people for these kind of distance races. And with the whole COVID process, or the pandemic, we got kicked to the curb. The races did, and because of that, our group is not meeting, you know, anywhere near the way that it traditionally would have.
Very good. So, hey, Joe, can I ask you, do you expect, obviously, to apply for the second round here?
Absolutely, yes. You know, I talked to Bridget, and we are totally on board, and we're excited for the opportunity. I think we just narrowly missed out based on the margin last time, and I think it's a great program, and it's a great idea just to help the little individual businesses that can use a little bit of economic support at this time. So yes, we're totally on board.
Yeah, and we, by the way, want both of you to stay open. So that's really the thrust of the program and the assistance. So next we have Carrie Murphy. Hi, Carrie. Good morning. Could you tell us your story?
Good morning. Yeah, so I actually found out about this opportunity through my CPA. At the time, I was trying to get whatever I could get. I was ordered to close my business completely down for almost 10 weeks, beginning the middle of March. And it was very difficult providing for my family, not having any type of income coming in. At the time, I was unable to get a PPP loan application in, and that's when I found out about this. So I actually applied for both PPP loan and for this CARES grant through Hamilton County. At the same time, believe it or not, they both came in. The grant for me was super simple to do. And, you know, being a hairstylist for the past 21 years, I am very uneducated on the computer. So it was super simple for me to do, which was awesome. I did have a little bit of difficulty getting a DUNS number. But once I finally was able to achieve that, that's when my PPP loan came in and this grant needed to be signed. And I didn't qualify for the grant after I'd had received the PPP loan. I will absolutely apply again Monday at noon. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm grateful for all of this help for small businesses like myself, because, you know, it was very difficult trying to get anything quickly. So I'm grateful for this.
Thank you. Thank you both. And if you would please stay on the line. I don't know if there will be questions for either one of you, but thanks so much for joining us. We really, it's so helpful to hear your stories, to try to understand, you know, what assistance is needed and what you're struggling with, you know. I mean, you guys are both struggling to stay open during a pandemic. So thank you for what you're doing. Joe, I know you. Of course I know you. So it's good to see you again. So anyways, thanks so much for telling your stories and kind of bringing this home for us. So we also have Eric Kearney on the line. Eric, can you tell us a little bit about what you're hearing from the membership of the African American Chamber?
Yes, thank you, first of all, so much, Commissioner Dreihaus, for your leadership on this issue, for shepherding it through. I think it's absolutely fabulous what Hamilton County is doing here. Also, your team has been wonderful to work with, both working inside the county and also at HCDC. A couple of points. One, I'm really happy that the program is more flexible, that it provides less paperwork. I think those were wonderful changes that you've made. And what I'm hearing are two crucial things. One, landlords are asking for their rent. There was a certain number of months where there was a pause. Landlords are saying, hey, listen, you got to catch up. And those negotiations about how to catch up have been a strain on some small businesses. Also, the second thing is Duke Energy is saying, listen, we gave you a pause. We need to get our money for your gas and electric. And so that's kind of put another strain on, and the revenue cycle hasn't quite caught up yet. And so I think that those strains, those demands from landlords, from Duke, which are legitimate claims, are putting a strain on these businesses. And so the great thing about the Hamilton County program is less paperwork and it's fast. So once they apply, the money gets out relatively quickly. So I applaud you on all of those levels and all of those measures. So thank you and your colleagues, Summerall Dumas, as well as Parks.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. And yeah, thanks for the reminder. There's some added strains right now that did not exist even a couple of months ago. And so small businesses are really in a bit of a crunch here, trying to pay for rent and utilities without some of the assistance available. So thank you for that. I too want to recognize that this is a collective effort from the county. And so my colleagues, Commissioner Summerall Dumas and Commissioner Parks, obviously were part of this. And we all had information and recommendations, I think, to improve this program. And I know we've all weighed in. So thanks to them for being so supportive on really all the fronts that we're talking about. HCDC is our partner in trying to, where the applications are running through. So Harry Blanton has been really helpful. Bridget's been mentioned a couple times. So Bridget's our comms person, but she's doubled as also trying to receive and give us information related to this program. So Bridget Daugherty, Holly Chrisman, Joy Pearson, all the Cindy Fazio over at the prosecutor's
Robert
office.
Bell.
So we've had a lot of folks working on this one, and so thank you to the team for making this happen. So again, for the small businesses out there, or if you heard both of these individuals, both the business owners both say they heard this secondhand. So if you know someone who's a small business and struggling and think they might be eligible, please have them apply. If they're not, they're not. It's an application. If they are, they can receive up to $10,000 from the county to help them get through this really difficult time. So please spread the word. We're doing our best to get it out to the local chambers of commerce. And so anything that any of you can do to help spread the word would be really, really appreciated. So thank you all. Please stay on the line if you don't mind in case there are questions for you. But I'm going to turn it over to Greg Kesterman to run through the numbers.
Thank you, Commissioner Dreihaus, and good morning. I'd like to start by saying this is the fourth week in a row that we have seen many indicators look very good. People out in the community are continuing to wear their masks, even maybe more now than they were just 4 weeks ago. In addition, the metrics that we're looking at continue to be positive. So the first metric I'd like to share with you is case counts, and it's just so shocking to see that mask on the screen right now. From that point forward, on July 8th forward, we have seen a significant decline in the number of cases here in Hamilton County. I'll pause as our interpreter is seeing the slides as well, and we'll give him a moment to get adjusted. Perfect. I apologize for that delay. So from July 8th forward, we've continued to see a significant decline in the number of cases. You can tell the decline is slowing down a little bit, although it's still trending in the right direction. So it's just one more reminder, we all need to continue to do our work to keep these things moving in the right direction. I'll touch base on that in a moment a little bit further. On the next graphic that I have, you can see hospitalizations on the top left. Once again, here for Hamilton County, we are continuing to see hospitalizations decline week over week. This is, as Commissioner Dreihaus indicated, a delayed indicator or a lagging indicator. Once again, this is another great sign for our county. Deaths also are slightly declining, although still elevated over where we would like to see them, but we will continue to hope to see this come down as we see less hospitalizations. If you were to look at regional data for the hospitalizations and intensive care unit admissions, as a region, we are seeing very elevated numbers still, kind of bouncing around. They are not consistently declining as we are seeing here in Hamilton County. I still believe this might be attributed to us doing great work here in our county and coming together as a community. So please continue with that great work. The next measure I'd like to share is the reproductive value. As you recall, any number over 1 is an indicator that the outbreak is growing at an increasing rate. Any number below 1 means it's continuing to decline. Today's reproductive number for Hamilton County is 0.94, and for the 14-county region, it is 0.96. The slide actually says 95, but that's from yesterday. So we are continuing to stay just below 1 over the course of the last 5 weeks. I will say over the weekend there was one day where it bumped just slightly above 1, but no reason to be alarmed as generally speaking this continues to trend in a downward direction. Next, we'll touch on the Ohio Alert System. Last Thursday, Hamilton County remained orange. Interestingly, both Claremont County and Brown County were elevated to a level 3. I don't know the exact reason. I know it had to do with hospitalizations, but once again, I think we in Hamilton County should take credit for the great work that we're doing. This is a great indicator that we as a community have come together. So let's keep up the great work. And now let's talk about testing. We have some testing opportunities. I always mention about our website, hcph.org, as an opportunity to find testing locations that are accessible to you. Today we have partnered with Hamilton County and the Ohio National Guard to provide testing from noon to 4. This will be in Springfield Township at Rinks Flea Market, located on Hamilton Avenue. There is no cost necessary, there's no appointment necessary, no doctor's note necessary. Just show up, stay in your car, and get tested. Wait times to get that test have decreased as well, so you won't be sitting in your car necessarily as long as you were at the beginning when we first started offering this type of testing. So we as a community have continued to move in the right direction. Because of our hard work, we will continue to be able to see new activities here in the state of Ohio and in Hamilton County. I think it's just important to remember as the director's orders become less restrictive and more activities are permitted, this is not an indication to let our guard down. This is time to continue to work really hard so that we don't have to roll back some of these new opportunities to get life back to normal. We don't need to be afraid of one another, but we do need to work together to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Remember that 6 foot of distance is very important for making sure you're not a close contact, for making sure the individual near you doesn't make you a close contact, and for slowing the spread of COVID-19. Similarly, that mask that is required to be worn when you're in public is another key tool for slowing the spread of COVID-19. Basic infection controls will help us slow the spread of COVID-19 this fall. So please do your part. Wear a mask, stay home if you're sick, treat workers around you with respect, and let's get through this together as a community. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. All right, I think we are ready for questions, Bridget.
Thank you, Commissioner. First up is Chris Wederick from the Business Courier. He has a couple questions for you and also for one of the business owners.
Oh, very good. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, the first thing I had, it looks like Joe's kind of stepped away there, but just to be clear, his obstacle, I think, was it that he didn't meet the margin of losses that you needed to do in the first round? Was that, did I understand that right, Joe?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got pulled away for I had a customer at the door, go figure. But
no problem.
Could you repeat the question again, Chris? Thanks.
Joe, the reason you didn't qualify the first go around here, was it because your margin losses were not great enough? Did I understand that correctly when you were talking?
Yeah, that was the case. I think percentage wise, we were just below that threshold. And so that was our reasoning. No PPP issue or anything else like that. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's all I needed from you, Joe. And then Denise, you got a little garbled there at one point. So you said the lottery, if needed, it'll be between companies that have 1 in 10 employees, and I missed the second one completely, the second category.
I apologize for that. Let's just blame Jay, shall we?
I'm sure it's my internet, trust me.
No, when things don't go well, I mean, he's standing right here. He's the only one standing right here. So remember last time, and then this was informed actually by Eric Kearney, when we were talking about this to begin with, we didn't want to disadvantage individuals that weren't getting their information in right away, but were still within the time frame of application. And so Eric suggested that we do a lottery so as not to disadvantage any business over another. And so we created a lottery. Last time we were going to split the businesses between 1 and 10, and then 10 and 50. Those were the two pots. So we didn't use all of the funding last time, so we didn't have to do that kind of split and have the kind of lottery. However, if we do have the volume this time where we don't have the dollars to match the assistance needed, we're gonna have to split that into 2 lotteries, and then we will apply the funds and draw people out of the hat.
Great. And then only one other question. I think that you said that the applications will consider losses between in April and May. Why, at this point, why not include June and July as well? Is there any reason for that?
So when we were putting it together at the time, it was March and April, because that's when we were putting this together in June. So it's just a point in time where we can do comparables.
And so Bridget is part of the team trying to figure out what these new criteria should look like. And so I do want to say, though, also that a lot of the businesses in the very beginning were shut down. And so that is the moment in time where people were seeing some significant losses. And as Eric said, some of them are still digging out from having been shut down for that period of time. And so we think that moment in time is an appropriate one.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Next up is Scott Wartman with the Inquirer. He has questions for our business owners and one for Greg Kesterman.
Okay, let's go business owners first.
Hey, Scott.
You're on mute.
There he is.
Oh, no, we're good.
There we go. Am I coming through?
Yes.
I'll eventually get the hang of the mute button.
On you, Scott. It's been a while.
It's not easy. It's a struggle. So I just was curious from the business owners, as the pandemic stretches on in the next year, how much more assistance or what more are you going to need from like Hamilton County or the feds to survive?
You don't mind.
That's a great question. For me, being a salon owner and working with the public coming in to do their hair, I think it depends on what the next year looks like. Are we able to keep the doors open? Are we keeping this virus at bay? Are people wearing their masks? Are people being safe? Are they staying home when they're ill? Are they coming in the salon and spreading it around? I think it really depends on what things look like this next year. It's hard to really make that call right now, I think.
Scott, that's a tremendous question, and you find me the person who knows the answer to that. They could print money right now, but our situation, a lot of our people had deferred their memberships towards next year, so more or less we do have some degree of income that we receive this year that we're not going to get next year. And oh, by the way, who's to say what's going to happen with, let's say, the Heart Mini Marathon in March of 21, or the Flying Pig in 21 as well. We could be looking right down the same barrel of the gun all over again. So who knows?
Thank you.
Can I just say, and to the business owners, so, and Carrie mentioned it, so what we need from folks in the community, Greg's nodding, wear the mask, wash your hands, and keep a safe distance from one another. That's what helps business owners stay open and stabilize the businesses, in addition to all the health benefits that we talk about all the time. But this is what we need, is for people to do what they are doing, wearing the mask primarily, to make sure that the business owners don't continue to suffer the losses that you took in the very beginning of the pandemic. So I just do want to highlight something that Carrie said. Eric, do you want to weigh in as well?
Yeah, I would like to just jump in for a second to address Scott's question. If you look at it from the standpoint of certain businesses, like Carrie's business was shut down for at least 2 months or maybe 3 months. So you're looking at either 1/6 of your revenue or 1/4 of your revenue just gone. And then do you have the capacity in your business to make up that lost revenue? So for instance, there's a barber shop that's just down the street from my office, and I had a conversation with a gentleman last week. He said, we were forced to close by the government, but we don't have the capacity, we don't have the seats actually in our barber shop to make up the revenue that was lost for those 2 or 3 months. And so if your business were to take a hit of 1/6 of revenue or 1/4 of revenue and didn't have a way to make it up quickly, think of it in those types of terms when you analyze what 2021 will look like for some of these companies.
Thanks, Eric. I'm going to bring Greg over.
Morning, Scott.
Morning. So I wanted to get an update on what enforcement is like and what you guys are hearing. Are you still getting a high volume of complaints on businesses not following mask rules, or what are you hearing complaint-wise?
So you may recall back when the new masking order went into place on July 8th, I was reporting, I believe, around 40 complaints per day on average for a week period of time. We are down as of yesterday to about 19 complaints per day over the last 7 days. Generally, I'm actually kind of surprised. The number of complaints that I get of somebody driving through a drive-through and looking in the window and seeing 2 employees not wearing masks is fairly high. I would almost bet that it's 25% of those complaints. And I have urged this throughout this pandemic, that if you are in a position where you can leave that business and take your business somewhere where you are comfortable with the way they are operating, I encourage you to. So if you're driving through the drive-through and you're upset because people aren't wearing masks, please call our office and we will follow up with that business. But also, please take some responsibility and let them know you're not comfortable with it, and pick a new location to do business with. As we just heard from our small business owners, getting through this fall is really up to us as citizens to play our part and to make sure we're making our businesses and our communities safe. So I really plead with everyone to take as much personal ownership to help us get through this pandemic.
You had to issue any orders to businesses that aren't complying, or has it just been warnings? Or
So far, it has been warnings. We have been in discussions with the prosecutor's office regarding a couple businesses that we continue to get complaints on.
can you say who that is? Or
I don't have it readily available, but that list, the complaint database that you have requested, clearly shows a couple businesses at the top, so that's available.
okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, that appears to conclude our questions from reporters.
Okay, well, thanks to Greg. Thanks for the business owners that jumped on. Thanks to Eric Kearney for jumping on from the African American Chamber. Really, really appreciate you helping us illuminate the program and how it works and what we needed to do to make it better. So thanks also to the county team for doing the work. And again, to our interpreters, it's been a little bit more challenging than usual this morning, but thanks for hanging in there with us. We'll see you next week.